Welcome to this video on function notation. By the end of this video, you should be able to use function notation to evaluate a function, and you should be able to use function notation to determine points on a graph. So, what is function notation? Up until now, most times you'll have y equals something. In function notation, instead of the y, we can write something like this. And that is read by saying f of x. So f of x equals 4x minus 1. Okay, so what this does is if you see this notation, this is the function notation, it guarantees whatever comes after it is a function. It will pass the vertical line test, the x values don't repeat, any of that we've discussed previously. And so the f of x is the output, and the x is the input. So really, your f of x right here is just a fancy way of saying y equals. Okay, they mean the same thing, but it's used to guarantee whatever comes after it is a function, and it helps us when we want to plug something in. So that's where we're going to use it today. We're going to be evaluating a function, and to evaluate means to plug in. Okay, so we're going to plug in numbers. So when I look at my example, it says if f of x equals 4x minus 1, find f of negative 7. Now this negative 7, if I look at the original notation, is where the x is. So that says x equals negative 7. So what they're saying is wherever there's an x, we're going to plug something in, and the something that we're going to plug in is a negative 7. So instead of the letter x, I'm going to put negative 7, and then we're going to go ahead and just finish that out. And so this is 4 times negative 7, which is negative 28, minus 1 equals negative 29. So f of negative 7 equals negative 29. This inside the parenthesis is what x equals. What the answer is what y equals. So really what you've ended up with is the point. If x is negative 7, your y value will be negative 29. Alright, so that's how this is used. So let's try a few of these and see how you do. Alright, well let's start with the number 1 problem here. Get a little bit closer. So if f of x equals x plus 7, find f of 5 is what this is saying. So f of 5 means wherever there's an x, I'm going to plug in 5. So that's the same as saying x plus 7, and now x is 5. So 5 plus 7 is 12. So f of 5 equals 12. If you were asked to graph that, that'd be the point 5, 12. All right, let's try probably the hardest one on here. We'll skip down to number 8. So these straight up and down bars are called absolute value. And what absolute value tells you is the distance from 0. So whenever we're talking about a distance, it's always going to be positive. Even if you're traveling backwards, you're still traveling a positive distance. So whatever answer is in the absolute value, when it comes out, it's always going to be positive, that is what it says. So now we're going to say, given g of x, we want to know the absolute value of x minus x squared if we have g of negative 7. So let's take this. Let's get it started. We have the absolute value of x minus x squared. Okay, so wherever the letter was, I put a parenthesis. Now I'm going to plug in what it asked me to plug in, which is negative 7. Okay, so we're going to start simplifying now. So we have negative 7 minus negative 7 squared is 49, and that's inside my absolute value bars. Negative 7 minus 49 is negative 56. And the absolute value of negative 56 is 56 because I'm asking how far away from 0 is the number. It's 56 units away. So it's always going to be positive. All right. So let me help you get a couple of these set up, and you're going to go through and try the rest on your own. So let's take a look at number 5. We want to know if f of 5. So wherever there's an x, put a parenthesis. So we have a minus x squared plus 6x minus 4. And then in those parentheses, you'll plug in the 5. All right, I'm going to help you set up one other, and the rest you're going to do all on your own. Let's look at number 4. If we're given x squared minus x, find f of negative 4. So we have x squared minus x. And what we want to plug in is negative 4. All right, we're going to try some more on the back. All right, so we have on number 9, f of x equals 4x plus 11. But now I'm saying find f of c plus 7. So instead of a number we're plugging in, we're going to plug in all of c plus 7. So f of c plus 7 equals 4x plus 11. And what we're plugging in is c plus 7. Okay. Now we want to start simplifying. I have a 4 next to a parenthesis, so that means distribute. So I have 4 times c for 4c, and 4 times 7 for 28, and then we have plus 11 still on the end. These are all on the same side of the equals, so we want to combine our like terms. The 4c has nobody to combine with, and then 28 plus 11 is 39. So f of c plus 7 equals 4c plus 39. So it's not always going to come down to an exact number. It just depends on which problem we're doing. So I'm not going to do 10 because it's just like number 9. So I want you to give that a try all on your own. And then let's look at this set of problems. So what this set of problems does is they've given you 3 functions to work with, and they've named them differently, f, g, and h. So when you're asking, you can know who it's talking about. F of 4 means you're going to use the f function. G of 4 means you're going to use the g function. So you got to look at the letters so you know which one of these functions that you want to use. And we're doing different things with them, different operations. So let's look at number 11. It wants you to take f of 4, that means plug 4 into the f, and then add 9 to it. So that we have to use the f function, which is 8 minus 3x, and then plus 9, and they said plug in 4. So I'm going to plug in the 4. From here, we just are going to simplify. We have a negative 3 times 4, so that's going to be negative 12. And these are all like terms. We have 8 minus 12 is negative 4, and negative 4 plus 9 is going to be 5. So f of 4 plus 9 is going to equal 5. All right, let's try another one. We're going to do let's try number 14. No, we'll do number 12. Number 12, because number 14 can build to that. So number 12 says negative 2 times whatever g of negative 5 is. So negative 2 times, so g, when I look back over here, is x squared plus 2x. and negative 2 is going to multiply to all of that. So we want to get the inside first. We're plugging in negative 5. Okay. So I have negative 2 times, now I'm going to start simplifying my inside my parentheses. I have negative 5 squared, that's going to be 25, because negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. And then I have a positive 2 times a negative 5 minus 10. So now I have negative 2 times 15, which is going to equal a negative 30. All right. So if you're having trouble with these, you can always go back and re-listen to the video. Make sure you take the time to do that. When you do number 14, this part of number 14 is just like what we just did. It's 3 times whatever h of 2 is. And then off of that answer, you're going to subtract whatever f of negative 9 is. Okay? Let me help you get 13 set up. We'll set it up and then we'll solve it. So we have g of 4. So I'm going to use the g function, which is x squared plus 2x. So I'm going to take this whole function and I need to add to it g of negative 1. So I'm using g again, which is x squared plus 2x. But now I'm going to need to go plug in. So if I'm just going to look at the first half, it says g of 4. So in the first one, so instead of that x there, we want to put in a negative 4 right there. Or sorry, positive 4. So we're going to put a 4 here and a 4 there. And in the second part, it says g of negative 1. So where the x would have been, you're going to plug a negative 1 in. And then we're going to start simplifying. So we have 4 squared, which is 16, plus 2 times 4, which is 8, plus negative 1 squared, which is 1, and a positive 2 times a negative 1 is negative 2. So 16 plus 8 is 24, and then we have 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, and 24 minus 1 is 23. So these have a lot of things to pay attention to. There's a lot of detail that you got to pay attention to. Today's just the first day of practice to help us get used to it. Now question 15. Question 15 asks slightly different. Up here it says g of 4. That means plug in 4 for x. But this says f of x is negative 13. Find what x is. So you're actually looking for what this is because you're being given this number. So remember when I said earlier that f of x is y. So this says y equals negative 13. So you're plugging negative 13 into that f of x spot. So when I look at f of x, instead of f of x, it says f of x is negative 13. So I'm going to say negative 13 equals 8 minus 3x. And I want to know what x is. So I got to solve for the x. So I'm trying to isolate x. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So negative 21 equals, this cancels to 0, negative 3x. Divide by negative 3, and x equals a positive 7. All right, so hopefully that will help you with number 16. All right, the application, when you read through it, it asks for h of 46. That literally just means plug 46 in for the x. So I think you can do that one. And these last ones with the graph. So remember at the very beginning where I said this x inside the parentheses is what your x equals, and the whole thing equals what y is. So if x is negative 3, I'm going to go to where x is negative 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I have to travel up to be able to hit the graph. What is that y value right there? That y value is 2, so my y equals 2. And there's my point, negative 3 2. Okay? So if x is 1, I know my x value. That's like saying this. I want to know the y value. So if x is 1, the y to be on the graph will have to be here, and that y value is also 2. So you're just taking the point name and kind of splitting it up just a little bit. So if my x equals 0, to be on the graph, I'm going to have to move up to hit the graph right there. And my y value there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is the point 0, 5. And now let's for our last one. So we're talking about the point 2 what? So if I'm going to have the x value of 2, to be on the graph, my y value would have to be -3. So f of 2 equals -3. All right, all the ones we have not done, that's what I want you to do and show them to me. Let me know if you have any questions. See you in class.